Buy on MTG. Construct your deck. Command your board. Conquer the table.
Hello and good morning, Wide World of Web. This is Rob with Buy on MTG. Previously, we covered Arabian Nights, so I thought it would be super cool to go to the next expansion. Spoiler alert, I do not currently have a validated, unsearched, sealed booster for Antiquities, so no little snippet at the end. I wanted to start out with something that I Googled, so I thought it was pretty cool, but the basic premise of this set, and this really starts to establish the lore within Dominaria itself, but ancient artifacts of the Thran Empire were discovered on the continent of Terraciri. I don't know how to say it correctly. Terracire. I don't know. Either way, including many machines of war. It really started the conflict between Urza and Mishra, the Brothers' War, which even as recent as, I believe, 2023, we had an expansion covering it. But they found a stone in the caves of Koilos, which broke into two pieces. One had the Meek Stone, one had the Might Stone, and those were cards within Antiquities, and they represent themselves as the Meek Stone and Might Stone in the Brothers' War expansion. And I believe, and I'm not 100% sure, I'm not a lore expert, but I believe during the fight, somehow they get embedded into Urza and become his eyes or something like that during the time when they're battling the Phyrexians, which is kind of cool because they were around and are still around. But went through the Phyrexian expansion, which was really big recently. But I'm going to focus on the Antiquities set. Antiquities was released in March of 1994. It has a little anvil as a set symbol. Look at that. I learned the term set symbol, and I used it right away. I know you're impressed, right? Anyways, overall, there were 15 million Antiquities cards printed. I will pop up a breakdown later in the video where I could probably pop up the breakdown right now and I could put it right here or something. But the breakdown is 28 commons, 37 uncommons, and 20 rares, which, similar to Arabian Nights at that time in Magic, were referred to as uncommon ones. So similar breakdown. A neat little tidbit is every card in this set is either an artifact or it has the word artifact or it's mentioned artifacts in it. There's a total of 85 unique cards in this set. That being said, it implemented a really cool thing where there are multiple artworks per. So like there's 4 Mishra's workshops, there's 4 strip mines, there's 4 of each of the tower, mine, and power plant. So with that, it would, if you as a collector assumed each one of those artworks was a unique card, then there's 100 cards in the set. And I will say I consider the print run A and print run B of Tanos's Weaponry a unique card. So to me, Antiquities is a 101 card set, but that is purely looking at it from a collector's perspective. Like I had mentioned, 15 million cards in total printed. The set booster had 8 cards in each booster, and the booster box had 60 booster packs in the box. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start getting into the set. Some of the cards, like Amulet of Krug, not very powerful. Archaeologist, Blacksmith, well, heck, even Argavian Pixies, Argothian. We'll get there. But Argothian Pixies, Argothian Treefolk, not really powerful magics. There are certainly some powerful cards that were in this set, but I believe from a design perspective, it felt as if Wizards was way too hyper-focused on making everything an artifact or have something to do with an artifact, that it really detracted from what the set could have potentially been. I mean, it's an awesome set, but there are certainly some big swings and misses. Armageddon Clock, neat little fact about Armageddon Clock. It is the first appearance of what is later annotated as a Doom counter. So bringing in Doom counters. Artifact Blast, certainly a lot of artifact hate, artifact possession, artifact ward, ton of artifact hate. Artifact ward is a pseudo continuation of a cycle, because if you look at ABU, there's Wooburg ward, so white ward, blue ward, black ward, etc. But artifact ward kind of completes that if you're looking at it from a cycle perspective. Ashnod's Altar, I'm going to go ahead and say, is the first, especially on this specific page, really the only powerful card in this portion of the set. Ashnod's Altar, just the ability to sacrifice a creature for 2 mana at mana speed, so doesn't use the stack. Ridiculously powerful, continuously gets reprinted, presents itself in extremely powerful CEDH decks. Well, maybe not CEDH, but certainly EDH decks. It's a great card. Ashnod's Battle Gear, another precursor to equipment within Magic the Gathering. Transmogrant, it's whatever. I mean, it's neat artwork. Mark Teaton did some really cool artwork on there, but certainly not that powerful of a card. Turn in the page. Atog. Atog is a funny card. It's probably one of the, I guess, most unique or imaginative cards within. Atog is the first appearance that I can recall of a creature that is newly invented, newly created, and reused. When Atog was printed, it was the only Atog. They, to kind of harken back to what I was talking about earlier in regards to cycles and artifact ward, Magic tends to use cycles. I mentioned it in the Arabian Night video for Afrits and Djinns, but Atog ends up in, not until, because this came out in 94, not until 96 and 97 with, what is it, Mirage, Visions, Weatherlight, and then Tempest. It was like 4 sets in a row. They stuck an Atog in each one. So Atog proper being the red, Forge Atog or Forta Atog? Yeah, Forta Atog, green, Chronotog, blue, Necrotog, black, and oh geez, white's always had the worst cards. Aura Atog being white, kind of really encompassed and completed the cycle. They gave us an artifact Atog, but it was on an activated ability card, and yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I know it tapped for blue. Did it tap for blue and you could activate it to make it an Atog? I'm going to go ahead and just pop it up because I don't remember the name of it, but 13 Atogs in total, and kind of like headed up with a card from Odyssey, Atog, being a legendary 5-color Atog. And yeah, they're just silly, but Atog really was the first time that I felt Wizards, and like I said, comment if I'm wrong, but the first time Wizards didn't just copy an existing, it was a newly imagined creature type, and really cool. Battering Ram, kind of whatever. Copper Tablet is a goofy anti-card, but kind of funny. You could sacrifice it to swap it with something they had in play, and they got to keep the Copper Tablet. And a funny thing about it is, like, this exchange is permanent. So, like, back in the day when you played for the top deck of the card, that was what you were pseudo gambling for, and this allowed you to kind of not only help you win the game by removing a permanent, but you got to keep it. So if it was that troublesome, it was probably pretty good. Candelabra of Tawnos, I am comfortable to say that it is not the most powerful card in Antiquities, but for me, it meant the most to me. That was the card that I really, that was the first Antiquities card that I saw. And man, that card spoke to me, and I just fell in love with it. The person I was playing against, because like I said, I started playing in Legends, so Antiquities was somewhat established at this point. But the guy had full Tron online and was just raking in tons of mana using Candelabra, and it was just amazing watching this colorless 60 card deck just completely key off and Candelabra, and he had a copy artifact of another Candelabra, was just destroying me. Circle of Protection, or cop artifact. The cop was a cycle ABU. It had Circle of Protection, white, blue, red, black, green, whatever. But fun little tidbit: Alpha didn't have a cop black. Not sure if it was intended because white shouldn't be able to completely overpower black because they were in opposition to one another, or if it was just a print error. Could have potentially been either. But starting beta through current, there were cops of every color and cop artifact completing the cycle. Sentinel Druid. I read a goofy thing where Sentinel is just a lunatic spelled backwards, whatever. Artifact creatures. The Clockwork Beast was an ABU. Clockwork Avian appearing in Antiquities. Colossus of Sardia references one of the wonders of the world, also is the largest creature in Antiquities, and I believe at that point in the game was the largest creature in the game. Had a huge drawback though, it cost you 9 mana to untap it. There's a ton of different ways to circumvent that in current Magic, in Commander. So you have like Unwinding Clock and Voltaic Key and Unwinding Key, but I still run it in my goofy OG Elder Dragon deck. I run it in Chromium. Chromium is my one of my 5 original Elder Dragon decks, and in the 5 original Elder Dragon decks that I have, I only run 93 through 99, so it's only through the end of Urza's block. I am aware that Mercadian Masks came out at the tail end of 99, but it also was the threshold where they no longer incorporated the reserve list. So when I got back into collecting, I only hyper-focused on Alpha through the Urza block. So when I built my 5 original Elder Dragon lists, I only incorporated cards from that block. And Chromium is... that being said, there are absolutely no duplicates amongst the 5 of those decks. And that, excluding basic lands. Obviously, you need basic lands. But, yeah, so there's no duplication across those 5 decks. And Colossus of Sardia is in my Chromium deck. And it's done work before. It's a goofy card, but it's wonderful. Coral Home. Crumble, more artifact hate. Cursed Rack is kind of a continuation of a cycle. You had in ABU, you had the Rack and Black Vice. So the Rack hurt you if you had too few cards in your hand. Black Vice hurt you if you had too many cards in your hand. And then they used the same little stuffy doll guy. Aware stuffy doll's a card, but at that point, that's kind of what we called him. At least my play group back in Florida. But he kind of held you confined to within the pain of Black Vice and the Rack. Dampening Field, more artifact hate for Detonate. Dragon Engine's kind of a cool card. It gave you an outlet for infinite mana. Dwarven Weaponsmith, not that great. Energy Flux, on the other hand. Energy Flux, I've run it recently. All artifacts in play have an upkeep. When treasures became so prevalent, it really was like I was racking my brain. How can I combat this? And there's a myriad of cards that are pretty strong artifact hate, but Energy Flux was just such a quick and easy answer. Sure, keep all the treasures you want. By the way, they cost 2 mana each to keep. So It shut it down pretty quick. Felden's Cane. Felden's Cane was such a cool card back in the day because, like I had mentioned in a previous video, we did play group games. You tried to streamline your deck down so you didn't have too many bad cards in it, but running out of cards was a reasonable concern. So we would run Felden's Cane, would even use Copy Artifact to bring the Felden's Cane back or to make a copy of it before you cracked it, or you would even regrowth it to bring it back. It was just Felden's Cane so good at one point. Let's see, June. I wrote them down this time. Hold on, because last time I had such a hard time. June of '94, Felden's Cane was restricted. No, unrestricted. It was restricted. Wow, I wrote it down and I still messed it up. May of '94, restricted, because it was just so good. I guess I'll backpedal. Candelabra of Tanos, restricted in May of '94 as well. That was on the first restricted list, or no, not the first, but it was restricted alongside of Library of Alexandria. But restricted May of '94, restricted June of '94. Gaia's Avenger, such a terrible card. Not the worst card in the set, but such a terrible, terrible card. Gate to Phyrexia, on the other hand, pretty cool card. And it was one of the few methods that Black had that could directly answer an artifact. Really cool card. Goblin Artisans, just a goofy little card. Golgothian Silex. I had mentioned this card in the previous video, and I'll probably pop them up maybe here and here. But City in a Bottle was the set hoser for Arabian Nights, and Apocalypse Chime was the set hoser for Homelands. Golgothian Silex, integral to the story arc because that's what Urza used to Silex blast and destroy and kind of get control of the Phyrexians and Mishra, but it also was directly correlated and sent all of Dominaria into the Ice Age. So there's that. Grape Shot Catapult gets hearkened to the spell, the Storm spell, Grape Shot. So it did 1 damage, but this only to a target creature, where Grape Shot, the spell, can go to anything. Haunting Winds is a pretty neat card, but just kind of, a little bit of artifact hate. Hurkyl's Recall. Man, that's a powerful card, especially when you had Power 9 was involved, because you could bounce them all back and then just keep running it again. If anything is a clear indication that Magic was a different time, or a completely different landscape back then, Ivory Tower, restricted in May of '94. Ivory Tower is such a weak card from today's perspective, but back then, somebody running Ivory Tower, they had their Library of Alexandria, so they were getting more life. It was just such a crazy time back then, but such a good card. Jolem's Tome, you needed that card draw, and there wasn't a lot back then. I'm going to... Martyrs is whatever, not that backbreaking of a card. Meatstone and Mightstone is... No, this is Mightstone, Meatstone's later. But it's a cool card, but it's just whatever. It was one of Urza's eyes. It's part of the story where it gets... The stone gets broken into the Mightstone and the Weak Stone. But yeah, it's cool. Millstone formed an entire archetype. At the time, Mill wasn't even really a thing. Running out of cards was a possibility, but not a concern. Not unless you were playing huge group games. But even today, if something takes cards from a library and directly bins it into the graveyard, it's milling it. But yeah, so that's the first appearance. It's a real clean mechanic, and it's a real clean card as a whole, and probably is one of the stronger and more memorable things to come from Antiquities as far as an evergreen considered thing. Mishra's Factory, this is the cycle. There's one for each season. It's supposed to be the same factory, just at 4 different times of the year. Kaya Foglio. I can't remember. Is Phil on these as well? Yeah. Phil and Kaya Foglio. Amazing artist pair. The neat thing about these, and a huge difference between Magic today and at this point, each one of them, and I'm not going to try and remember off the top of my head, but they were each at different rarities. So it's kind of cool that, yeah, they're at different values because obviously winter is the prettiest, but they were at different rarities, so they didn't present themselves as often. And kind of a cool card, and probably one of the strongest cards that was tournament playable out of the entirety of the set. Mishra's War Machine. I'm going to go ahead and say this was the worst card in the set. The discard mechanic and it bolting you for a 7 mana, but it did have banding, and banding's the most broke mechanic in the game, way better than Storm. But yeah, this is probably the dumbest and weakest card in this set. To be the opposite of that, Mishra's Workshop. Shops is an entire archetype. It's a vintage deck. It's ridiculously strong. This card is obnoxiously powerful. It was restricted in 1994, and so when I left Magic, it was still restricted, and then came back to Magic in 2017. To find out you could run 4 of these things, I was just like, who is in charge of whatever that format is? Because it's ridiculous. You have, it does kind of create an entire deck, and it creates yet another vintage channel that you can go through instead of just, obviously you run Power 9 in it. But yeah, I was just blown away that it's playable. And there's been so many cards that are restricted around it that, I don't know. If this was restricted, though, it would kill that deck. So you can't really get rid of it. But powerful magics. And once again, this one's just Kaya Foglio, apparently. Obelisk of Undoing is a whatever. Onulet. The thing that I read, it had little fun facts, and I think it's in Magic Wiki. It was supposed to be Onulets, plural, and there was supposed to be more than one, end table or picnic table, whatever kind of creature this is. But because the artwork only had one, they brought it to just Onulet. And the reason it was supposed to be plural is the name was supposed to be like Soul Nets or something like that. Orcish Mechanic, just more artifact hate. Ornithopter, super cool card. First 0 mana critter, and just crazy strong. Pretty great. I love Ornithopters. Phyrexian, Gremlins. I have a artist proof of this, the Phyrexian Gremlins, and it's signed by Amy Weber, but the artist proofs, if you're unaware, are plain white on the back, but this one was commissioned to do a new version of Time Walk. So whenever I do play Time Walk, I run this version, not the original, because I think this is cooler. Anything that's custom made for you, I think is super neat. But yeah, fun little, that's the only fun fact I have about Phyrexian Gremlins. Power artifact, powerful card. At this point, and really in Commander now, the main thing that it goes on to is like a Basalt Monolith, because it reduces the cost to untap it, so you can make infinite mana, similar with Grim Monolith. Power Leech is a really cool card. I don't know. I think the artwork's the coolest part about it, but whatever. For Priest of Yawgmoth, I think the artwork's cool on it. I not going to lie and pretend I even know what it does. I don't recall. It is what it is. I don't know every Magic card, so I'm not going to pretend I do. Primal Clay is really neat because it kind of gave that modular aspect. Reckolite is just whatever. You prevent damage. It's whatever. Reconstruction, the neat little thing about that is you'll notice it does not have the little symbol next to it. So kind of cool. What people would mistake it as maybe a beta card that they didn't know about. But Reconstruction's one of the misprints within the set. There are 2 different cards, and I would have to page through it to try and find them, but 2 different artists, their names were misspelt on the card, and I think each of them, this is one of them, this Martyrs of Koilos, this Margaret Orgon Keane, I believe it's supposed to be Kean, and I think they did 3 cards, and then there's another artist whose name is incorrectly spelt. That's 2 of the misprints. This is, 6 if you count that they did the same thing repeatedly. This would be the 7th reprint, and we'll go to this, but that's the 8th misprint, not reprint, misprint. Reverse Polarity, neat card. This is whatever. I mean, it just shoots something. Sage of Latnam. At this point, Sage is a common, and I watched a video doing some research, and Patrick Sullivan kind of pointed out, and I had to Google it because it's no longer correct, but I assume at the time it was correct because he's like a sage of Magic the Gathering historian. He's a wizard of whatever it is. But Sage of Latnam was reprinted as an uncommon and then reprinted as a rare. It's just neat that it's been in all 3 print levels. Shapeshifter, kind of cool that you could pick that modular aspect. Shatterstorm was backbreaking in this time, especially if you had a very artifact-centric deck, because there wasn't anything to make all of them indestructible or phase them all out. The only margin of hope you had was that you had a Hurkyl's Recall, so you could get them all back real quick in response to it. Staff is whatever. Strip Mines, another one that there's 4 print variants of. When I was a kid, everybody just wanted the Tower one. Nobody really cared about the others. The variant isn't too unique about them when you glance at them. No Horizon, Even Horizon, Uneven Horizon, but Tower was the only one that really felt unique. So when I was a kid, the only ones you wanted were Towers for your strip mines and Winter for your workshops or your factories. Su-Chi, really cool card. Read a thing that Su is, I think it's Taiwanese or something for the number 4, and Chi is another language for 4. So it says 4/4, and its power toughness is 4/4. It costs 4. It gives you back 4. It's just a super flavor win from, I don't know how I look at cards. The tablet, they did a lot of life gain, a lot of damage prevention stuff. Tanos' Coffin, a paragraph on it, but I believe it was errated to phase out. It might still be phase out. It might be exile. I could just pop up the errated text and just like bloop, put it up there and move on the cards, because it's not, I've never really played it. I don't think it's that great. Tanos' Wand is a whatever. Tanos' Weaponry is another precursor to equipment. If you look at the colorless mana or the activation cost, you can clearly see this one has the circle behind the generic mana symbol. I believe this is print run A, and print run B has no colorless mana symbol behind it. One's not worth more than the other. The same amount of them exist, so it's just neat to have both. And to me, it's a misprint. Tetravis, It was kind of cool because it came apart, went back together. They used the Tetravite or that mechanic again in the future. So it's kind of cool that it repeated itself. The rack, obviously I misspoke when I was talking about Cursed Rack, saying Black Vice and the rack were in ABU. The rack didn't present itself until Antiquities, and Black Vice was in ABU. Tatiana's Song, it's a cool card. I like it. Does all sorts of different stuff. It's fun. Transmute Artifact was a powerful tutor. I still think it's pretty strong. Triskelion, powerful card. It combos with a couple different things. I think it's really well thought out. It gave you, it's Walking Ballista's great-great-grandfather. We'll just call it that. It's super cool card, though. Another Amy Weber card with the Urza's Avengers. I don't know if it's the only representation of a -1 in Antiquities, but I don't know, it's kind of cool because it's a 0 mana ability and you can kind of activate it as you need it. Urza's Chalice. So in ABU, there's a thing called Lucky Charms where you could gain life after you cast a white spell or a blue spell or a black spell. And this is finishing another cycle that existed. So I would say in all, you had cycles would be the Lucky Charms cycle, you had the Circle of Protection cycle, you had the Ward cycle, and then the Atog cycle, and lastly would be the expansion hosing cycle. And that would be the entirety of what I believe all the cycles of this that existed. This little guy peeking out because, I don't know, I put cards in alphabetical order. But this is part of the Mine lineup. And then I'm going to jump back to the Miter, but Tower and Power Plant. This is another one that received 4 different artworks cumulatively. So Tower Mine Power Plant is referred to as Tron. So when I mentioned Candelabra of Thanos and the opponent had Tron online, that's what I was referencing if you are unaware. Urza's Miter is probably one of... Oh, this is the other guy that his name is misspelt. This Randy Asplund or Abslund. Sorry, Randy. I'm sure I said your name wrong. But this is the other guy whose name is misspelt incorrectly, the other person whose name is misspelt. But, man, I always just loved the amount of... I'm going to bring this one closer and see if I can get it centered on the camera. Just the amount of, like, the not work specifically, but, man, the detail on that guy is just super cool, in my opinion. Wall of Spears is whatever. Weak Stone is not the critter, it's the thing on his neck. So when the stone that Urza and Mishra discovered blew up, it broke into the 2 pieces, being the Meek Stone and the Might Stone. And that's what fell into, I guess, somehow during the explosion. Urza used them as his eyeballs. So I don't know. Weird. Poltergeist, so whatever, in my opinion. Dogma Demon is a really cool card. It's the largest black creature in this set, but I don't know. I just always thought it was a super cool card. The artwork was really neat, in my opinion. And last being Yoshin Soldier. The same website where I got all the goofy little fun facts said Yoshin is just the Yot part, but is toy spelt backwards. So it's supposed to be Toy Soldier, but Yoshin Soldier. Whatever. It is what it is. Either way, that's the entirety of Antiquities. Like I said, it is an 85 card set. In my personal opinion, it is a 101 card set. But I'm going to leave it on this one just because Candelabra of Tanos is my favorite card from this set. It's not the most expensive, but it's my favorite. So, and it's my video, right? But either way, I hope you've enjoyed my little rundown on what we used to play in this and why we used to play it, and maybe some of the fun facts about it. The little show of artist proof that I thought was neat. And as I do the editing of the video, if I misspeak or I say something incorrectly, I'm sure I'll just pop it on the screen to fix it accordingly. And I hope you all are doing great out there. I will say this is my last day of my first week. So this is day 7 of when I started the channel. This is going to be my 12th video. So I'm going to slow down pretty dramatically because I can't keep pace at doing this many videos this fast. But I had the support of my wife, Stacy, to try and push out content every day for the first week. And as soon as I finish editing this and pop it up, that will have happened. And I appreciate everybody who has subscribed so far. My wife and a couple people have told me, make sure you tell everybody to like and subscribe and comment or ring the bell icon. I think I'm going to just kind of make a little trailer, kind of like how I have the opener that says, buy on MTG, which is actually, the audio is done by my son, Gage. So shout out to Gage. I appreciate you for doing that for me. And yeah, I appreciate everybody who's commented, gave me assistance along the way, and little pointers and ideas, and my play group, Jason, Seth, and James, for helping me make the videos. And I know you guys are all like, hey, you're doing all the work, but you guys are there and you're part of it. And I wanted to just say thank you as my last video for the first week. Starting next week, I'm probably going to bring it down to doing a set review every now and then. I can't run through them too fast because they don't exist, because I'm only going to go through the sets that I've collected, and that stops at Urza block. But I will do a deck tech pretty regularly. I will do a commander game pretty regularly. I will still crack a pack pretty regularly. And as I find goofy little Magic the Gathering doodads like the Nerf gun, I'll do videos and content like that. But appreciate it to all of you out there. And I'm Rob, and this has been Buy on MTG. And good luck and have fun, everybody.
Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment down below.